The first time I came to Graymore, we came with a group of altar servers from my home parish. I think it must have been 16. And I had no thought of becoming a friar. My desire was to become a doctor, medical doctor. But something happened in the meantime where I realized that it wasn't really the physical healing that I was being called to, but there was something deeper, spiritual healing, something that enabled people to feel well in their own skins. From the very foundation, Father Paul realized that there were several levels of healing. And I think that this was a very important dimension of his understanding of what the atonement was all about, because it was the Son of God, Jesus, who healed our brokenness, who made us at one again with God. And because of that, we could then realize this at oneness among ourselves. Human relationships could be healed. As he looked out towards the Hudson, he saw visions of how this little spot could expand in like a stone falling into water and circles emanating out. And his army of friars, which were not many in those early days, he sent them out because this understanding of being made whole, being made at one again, was so essential for him.
Started with the first HIV retreat. We only had 14 people attending. But for the first time, those 14 people could come together and feel free to speak publicly about their illness, the emotions, the heartache, the fear.
I was sharing with Lenny that this past week I had to sit down with my kids because they found out through my youngest daughter. I had only shared it with my youngest daughter.
Just the prejudices, the ignorance, and all of that, just dealing with all of that. And a lot of it still exists today.
Father Bob Warren helps us share with one another in a way that it's a safe environment for everyone to bring forth what's going on in their lives.
Knowing that there's a place that I can go, and if I need to share anything at all, it's a place to do it. And that's a very comforting feeling.
Many, many people living with HIV, it's a disease of isolation. There's so much fear about what people will think, and Father Bob does nothing but love and support us, and I never feel like I'm here because I have a disease.
You have the information, you go through the experiences, I don't. And so when you come together, you share that information, and that's invaluable. We lost a lot of people over the years. At one point I was doing 2 or 3 funerals every week and hospital visits every day. But as a friar, as a priest, you're privileged to be with people, with families, at their highs and their lows. You're at the baptism, you're at the funeral. If somebody were to say to you, why did you bother to come all the way to Graymore 20 years ago?
No, it's hard to explain, the feeling that you get, that I get inside here. Yeah. I could never explain it. So much, man.
Yeah.
One of the situations that we live in is the situation of tension. We hear about it all the time. Wars among peoples, wars among nations, and many times that is related to wars among religions. From discussions with men and women from different religious traditions, I've come to learn that, there is a basis that we have that we share. One is the value and meaning of life, that life is not a commodity, it is something that is to be lived, and we need to make the most of the gift of life that has been given to us. And this is what I think friars bring to the area of dialogue, not only within Christianity, but also between religions in the world today.
Interreligious dialogue is not just important, but it's essential. We live in the type of world that we do, which requires our taking notice of other people and of establishing relationships. You may be aware of the 135 Muslim scholars who wrote to the Christian leaders of the world and said, Between us, Christians and Muslims, we're more than half the world's population. If we don't create peace, it's never going to come about. And so we take it upon ourselves to be responsible for maintaining and establishing avenues and ways to build relationships that bring about peace in the world. The interfaith dimension of the work of the Catholic Church is relatively new because it only broke forth like with the Second Vatican Council, where the Church recognized that it needed to open itself up to a new and welcoming appreciation for other world religions.
What are you hoping for in this trip for Muslims?
Well, the main thing is to learn from each other and how we can increase our understanding of each other by witnessing in the Holy Land that here in Canada we are living in harmony together, many different faiths. And that can happen anywhere in the world if we see each other as human beings and as a family of Abraham.
At the moment, we have 23 Christians, 18 Muslims, and 15 Jews. And it's a big bus.
The thing about this trip is that it's the first of its kind in Canada. And I'm not sure it's ever been done in the United States either.
For a number of years already, Father Damien and I have talked about the possibility of an interfaith mission that might go to the Holy Land.
If I didn't see the value of doing interfaith work, obviously I wouldn't turn my attention toward it. But I see the value and I see the necessity and the urgency that accompanies it. If there's no relationship among the religions, there'll be no peace. In fact, until there is established a bonded relationship among the religions, we can't anticipate peace.
It's not just a matter of opening your door. It's a matter of opening your ears and your heart to people and not being concerned about you, but being concerned about them. And so the friars, wherever they are stationed, are really trained to do that, to open their hearts, their ears, to listen to people's stories, and to see in those stories a certain intertwining of a great story, the story of Jesus and the love that God has for his people, no matter what their condition or no matter what their issues are.
The people we serve here is a very, very wide variety, from senators to tattoo artists to homeless people. We have Jewish people come here. We have an Orthodox guy that comes to Mass every day. You know, it's a come as you are place here, and everybody knows that. But a man came in one day and he said, I've been away from the church for a long, long time, and I'd like to make my way back. Maybe 3 weeks later, he brought his wife in, and she wanted to go back to the church too.
As soon as I come on these grounds, I feel like, I'm out of the jungle.
It's interesting. You know? It's like a refuge.
It is a refuge. It's a total refuge.
Well, I told him, I said, look out the window here. I said, it's like a spiritual gas station. They drive in and they drive out all day long. He says, yes, Friar. He says, but when they drive out, they're not filled with gas. They're filled with the grace of God. I thought that was, and he's very serious.
My previous assignment was a very, very, very busy, stressful ministry. So when I was transferred here, I said, how am I going to get through this? This is going to be so boring. This is going to be no challenge for me at all. But it turned out to be one of the best things that ever happened to me.
It's so good to see you guys. Hey, how are you?
A 9-year-old girl wrote me a letter the other day. I got to read it to you. It's unbelievable. Dear Brother Thomas, Brother Savio, and Pedro, thank you for all the kindness and presents you have given me. Thank you for letting me feed and pet Pedro. He always makes me forget all my worries for a little while. Thank you for always making me feel so happy. God bless, Mary. So what keeps bringing you back to the chapel?
I would have to attribute it to Father Henry. He had this contagious joy. He had this vitality that you couldn't help but want to dig further to see where is that coming from. And we saw there's a whole there's a whole building full of them, right? You know, they're all dressed alike and they all laugh and they all enjoy life. Savio?
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed when you came in, but the sign doesn't say gift shop, it said gifts shop. And the man that made it for us, he says there's many kind of gifts there. One, the gifts you buy, and the other gifts are the spirituality that you guys radiate. And it's true, people come in here, they want to talk. They know Brother Savio and I are here most of the day, and we're here to listen.
Most people think that we're only here at Graymoor because that's our home, and that's quite natural. But Graymoor is like the center that radiates out. And so we'll find friars in Japan on the streets of Yokohama. We are going to Africa. We are in Assisi, in Rome, in England, in different parts of Canada. We'll find friars in South Central Los Angeles among the poor Spanish and the black community. And the friars are very proud to serve in those places. But lots of times these friars will come back and serve again at Graymoor. This is our home, and this is where we find also the center of our life.
Well, when I was a student in Washington, D.C., I asked permission to study Buddhism at our mission in Japan. So I went over there for, I guess, about 8 months. And I studied Buddhism and Japanese sociology at Sophia University. So with the permission of the community over there, I went and lived with the Buddhist monks for a while. And we had this dialogue about the relationship of Buddhism to Christianity. I got to learn the theory, and I also got to learn the practice, which at times was very painful from sitting so long in a meditation hall. After my experiences in Japan, next thing I knew, I was on a plane to Jamaica, West Indies to see what it was like. I fell in love with the community down there. We had a ministry with an Anglican priest and his family, Father Golden, his wife, and 2 boys. It's a very poor area. We had 3 physical churches and a couple missions, and just a vibrant, lively, beautiful community. I mean, as poor as you can get, as far as I was concerned. I never experienced anything like that in my life. Some of those people for Sunday liturgy would walk anywhere from 5 to 7 miles, dressed to the teeth to come to church that Sunday. I had just finished an assignment as novice director for 4 years here on this holy mountain, and my beloved Minister General called and said, "We're sending you to St. Odelia's in Los Angeles." And I said, "That's wonderful, except I don't speak Spanish." And he smiled and said, "You will learn." And again, another vibrant community in all their brokenness. Most of them were undocumented people, struggling, wanting a better education for their children. We had a grammar school attached to St. Odelia. And reaching out, they established a food pantry in a garage across the street from us to take care of their people that were really hurting. The poor of the poor, in my experience in ministries, are always taking care of their own, the poorest of the poor. No matter what our ministry is, we try to reach out to the broken, the alienated, those that are hurting, those that have fallen down, hurt themselves, and bring them some kind of healing.
Since I came up here, Father, you know, it's been, something's happened. And it started from the first meditation when I went into the chapel. Something inside started burning, like something coming alive.
When you're involved in ministry and you see that transition and the people that you're journeying with, brings a sense of God's good grace to yourself.
I am trying to live out the call that God has given to me. And quite frankly, it's been very enriching.
We're supposed to heal, we're supposed to reconcile. And you know, when you reconcile and you heal, you feel good.
I learned, I laughed, I cried, I struggled, I joyed, everything.
What I like most about being a Franciscan Friar of the Atonement is the fraternity that we share.
I couldn't do the work I've done unless I had a community to come back to at night.
And I expect that I will die a happy friar. I hope.